who will be doing our opening blessing for us ceremony. Can we please have her on? Everyone stand up.
Hi, my name is Rob Sunshine. I'm from the Cree Nation in Alberta. Creator, thank you for having us here, and maybe have a great debate. Amen.
And now I'll pass on to the mic to Rania. She is our facilitator for this evening.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to Renfrew Community Center. Tonight, we have a lot of candidates here for the Parks Board, and we're going to try and give everyone a chance and every party a chance to express their views and their policies, and to give everyone here a chance to find out a little more about everyone and how you want to vote this time around. So to start off, I want to get everybody who's got a BlackBerry in the room, can you please raise the BlackBerry up high? Not a BlackBerry. Anyone who's got an iPhone in the room, raise it up high. Hold it up there. Any other Android phone, hold it up there. Now, take it down and turn it off, or at least the volume. So you can tweet if you'd like, but no volume, no ringing during this. And if your phone rings for any reason, please take it outside to have your call. Just so we're being respectful of everyone here. The other rule that I have here tonight is no chanting and no booing. So if you're not happy with an answer, express it with your facial expression. Please no booing at all. All right, so what we're going to do first is going to have a chance for each candidate to introduce themselves. We're going to go party by party. Each candidate will have 1 minute, and Cassandra here is our timer. When it's 10 seconds to go, Cassandra will hold up the yellow card. Please keep an eye out for that. Once you see the pink card go on, that's time to cut it right there. All right, everyone? And then after we've done all that, we're going to take questions. Those of you on the floor who have questions, please use the cards in the back. Emily's got them. The back, Emily, wait. There we go. And she's got the cards. A few questions have already come up. Those questions will come to me. I will put them forth. Each party will have to select one person within that party to answer the question. And please give a chance to everybody within your party. We have 2 independents, so we're going to alternate independents on the questions so that we give everybody a chance, if that's all right. Any other questions before we start? Great, okay, we've got 2 hours. Let's maximize that time. Thank you for coming out in the rain. And let's start with, whichever party we start with, we'll keep rotating so the same party won't be first each time. So I have 6 parties written and 2 independents. And we're going to start with the NPA. Where's the NPA? Right here. Okay, you've got 4 candidates. Each of you has a minute. We'll start at the first one. Jack.
Hi there. Hello? Hi there, my name is Jay Jackpot. I'm running for a park board with the NPA team. My background is I grew up in South Vancouver. I spent the majority of my childhood walking from John Henderson Elementary across the field to Sunset Community Center, where I fostered some of my lifelong friends. And I also used to go to senior centers, senior meetings, help my grandfather give out tea and sweets. So I really understand from a really early age how important community associations are to the community. And that's one of the reasons I started running, because of the breakdown of the relationship between community associations and City Hall. So I'm going to get back in there and rebuild that trust. I'm also a mechanical engineer, trained at UBC. I helped co-founded a startup, award-winning startup called Easy Plug a few years ago. I've also went around the world, worked in Asia, worked in Germany and Europe. So I've also seen a lot of solutions out there which I want to bring back to Vancouver and the North World. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erin Shum, and I'm running for park board with the NPA. I just want to say hi to my mom and probably my dad, who's also in the pool right now swimming with the seniors group. I grew up in this neighborhood, so it's very dear to me, this community center. My preschool was here, my first swimming lesson was here, and basically all the other lessons that my mom put me in was at the community center. So I'm very supportive of the Community Center Association. organization and the volunteers here. So I just want to let you know that as an elected official with our MPA team, we'll restore those severed relationships with our community centers. And second of all, I want to ensure our parks remain maintained for our seniors and the children that use these parks. And lastly, I want to build that senior center. It was once promised and that's been taken away. And with the MPA team, we're willing to build that community center for seniors. Thank you.
My name is John Cooper. I'm an elected MPA commissioner now, running for the election with Kirk Point and the MPA team. I got involved in park board issues as a very young fellow. My father worked for the park board for 42 years. He ran the nursery, the tree farm, and the conservatory. So I really grew up around the Vancouver park system, and I have tremendous respect for it. I got involved. I really came to the park board to see if I could improve sort of the horticultural beauty and the care of our parks. Since then, I've been really pleased to meet all the community volunteers that I've met at the community center organizations and the senior centers and all of that. And it's really made me realize what a wonderful city we have. And we need to foster these relationships we have with communities, volunteers, and really work together. Really get back to what the park board's mandate truly is. Looking after our parks, making sure we have great recreational facilities, making sure that we really promote the Vancouver lifestyle, because the park board is one of the key instruments in creating a healthy lifestyle in Vancouver. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Kirby-Young, and I'm running for park board also with the MPA team. Really happy to be here. My background is in the tourism industry. So I'm the former Director of Marketing for Tourism Vancouver, and I'm also the former Vice President of the Vancouver Aquarium. And a little bit to know about me is that I've spent my life trying to contribute to making Vancouver, which is already spectacular, a great place to live. I've had the chance to do things like launching the Dine Out Vancouver Restaurant Festival, or launching ticketing services such as Tickets Tonight with the Arts and Culture community. So I felt it was time to step up and run because I was heartbroken by the division that's been created with our community centers and the breakdown in the negotiations and relationships. And I felt it was really important to put that back on track. I also want to make sure that we permanently protect our parks and our green spaces, and that we don't take any of the parks out of our inventory. And in fact, we look for opportunities to add new green space as we have new density coming in the city. So thanks so much for coming out on a rainy night.
Thank you. Thank you. And next we're going to be going with, sorry, I have these in order. I can't read any of the names, so I'm going to have to rely on my notes and hope that you're all sitting in the order that I've been given. So next we're going to go with Vision. Okay, I'm going to give you my microphone, then it's going to be easier.
Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out tonight. My name is Trevor Loke. I'm a Vancouver Park Board Commissioner. I want to say, first of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to serve you for the past 3 years as your commissioner. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I would look forward to serving a second term for our city. I got involved in the Vancouver Park Board as a vice president of my community hockey association, and I worked at the grassroots level at community centers all across our city. I'm a West End resident, and my priority as a Park Board Commissioner has been improving accessibility and inclusivity across our community centers throughout our entire city. And we've been able to do that by creating the most progressive, sweeping municipal document of any city in the world through the Building Bridges Report, which details 77 recommendations about how we can make community centers more accessible for all people. I'm really proud that we were able to pass that unanimously by getting all commissioners to the table and getting everybody to work together. That's the skills that I bring to the Park Board, getting people to work together. We've been able to do that through the creation of the One Card, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that over our next term. Thank you all very much.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you to the organizers for putting this on. My name is Corey Talbot, I'm running with Vision Vancouver for Park Board. I'm a proud East Van resident. My background is in social justice and grassroots organizing. It's in community recreation. My background is in organizing recreational sports opportunities, predominantly within the LGBTQ community, but looking at how we can minimize barriers for people to access recreation and how they can access healthy living. My political backgrounds come with organizing a lot within the BCNDP, predominantly within this riding, which is really exciting to be here. I chose to run with Vision because I think I bring a lot of really great experience to the table, and I want to build on the work that they've done, as Trevor mentioned, with the Building Bridges report to really improve on the accessibility. Vision is standing strong on social justice. We're standing up against Kinder Morgan. We're standing up to make our city more affordable, and I'm really proud to be running for Vision. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we're going to go with the independents. So, you've got my...
Hi there, thanks everybody for coming. My name is Jenny Castris. I'm an independent candidate for Park Board. I'm a mother of 2 young children, and in my career I'm an auditor investigator regulating the real estate industry. I've been a resident of Vancouver for over 10 years, first living in the West End, then in Strathcona, and now I live in Cedar Cottage with my family. My motivation to run for Park Board came from a desire to contribute to my community in a positive way. I want to improve our parks by caring and maintaining for them better. I want to make them safe and clean, especially for our children and youth. I am deeply saddened by the damaged relationship between the community center associations and the Park Board, and I would like to restore the community's faith in the Park Board. Please give me the opportunity to bring a fresh start and to listen to you and to hear the needs of the residents in each neighborhood. I want to improve our parks and facilities in a way that matters to you, and I'm not bound by any political agenda. So thank you very much.
Greetings, friend, family, guests of the debate. My name is Earl Sunshine. I am from the Cree Nation. I am a cancer survivor. I sit on the board of the Aboriginal Mother Center. Children are very important to me. Children should be safe, feel safe in the park at all times. I am Chief 26 of the Greater Vancouver Native Culture Society. Thank you for inviting me to the debate. Thank you.
Next, we're going to go with Cope. Do you have a microphone on that side? Or?
Hello? Hi everyone, my name is Aruba Jamal. I'm running with the Coalition of Progressive Electors for Vancouver Park Board. I'm a student at UDC, a writer, and a social justice advocate. And I'm running because I like to advocate on behalf of youth and our right to the city, especially through the city's various services and programming. And in particular, I like to push for more grassroots community programming. This year at UBC, I've been involved with Governing the Talent, a new alternative student press at UBC. And through this publication that is alternative, independent, horizontally structured, and grassroots, I've been able to see what can happen when a group of passionately committed people that are passionately committed to social justice and anti-oppression come together, and what we can do to mobilize change and mobilize students and shift conversations. And I'm really looking forward to engaging with everyone today. Thank you so much.
My name is Imtiaz Puppet, and as you know, I'm with COPE. I just want to acknowledge there's 2 other candidates in the audience running for school board, Kwame Nanjala with COPE and Diana Davis just came in. It's not the first time I'm running for Park Board. I ran back in 1996 for the Green Party, and things haven't changed that much. So I've been following Park Board for over close to 2 decades now. And I remember when COPE and Green Party used to work together, we used to actually go into the community centers and have our meetings there. That hasn't happened in the last 6 years. We really need to work with the community. That if you look at our platform, that's our #1 issue. We need to work with the community centers who actually build our community centers and recognize their autonomy, the amazing work they do here. And then we need to work with them as much as possible. So I'm looking forward to your questions and having engagement that hopefully will get somewhere. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ezra Bloom. running for COPE, obviously. I grew up on Salzburg Island, and I've lived in Vancouver for 7 or 8 years. I got involved with COPE because of its because I was involved in grassroots organizing in the city for a really long time, and being frustrated with the lack of momentum that I feel is coming at these really important issues. Running on affordability is a huge part of our platform. We want to build affordable housing that's actually affordable for people like me. I can't afford to pay $1,400 for a single bedroom. We run on a $15 minimum wage, and these are things that I feel there's a huge opportunity to talk about in the park board through our cultural programming and to bring communities back together. We're running a majority on council so that we can take City Hall back for the people, and it's really difficult when there's so much money coming at us. So I think that Parks Board is a really good place to start for that sort of social justice struggle. Thanks.
Next, we're going to go with the Vancouver First candidates.
Again, I'd like to give you my thanks for being here.
The mic, turn it on.
Is it not?
No. Switch.
Is that a message? Take 20 seconds off that. My name is Doug Starring, and of course I'm with the Vancouver First group. I'm very proud that they have asked me to join them because they fit in with my philosophies. My reason for being involved with Parks Board is I go back 50 years with that. And I could write a book on all the times that I came through. I have to tell you right now, it's very disturbing. It's not Parks Board recreational community it was when I first came involved. And boy, would I like to see go back to those days because it worked. There's a lot of wonderful people in there, and we talk to the people that we were working for. So that's what I intend to help to do again with my colleagues. And of course, this is my alter ego. He isn't here, but remember him as well. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Nov.6. I'm running for Vancouver First for Parks Commissioner. I've been volunteering for about 25 years in this community actually. I started out at Thunderbird, I became president, did a capital plan campaign there, was successful. Was asked to join Champlain Heights Board, I did a capital plan there. We were successful, and then I was asked to go to Hastings and do a capital plan there. And we weren't successful due to global economic uncertainties. During that time I've done JOA task force, the Joint Operating Agreement Task Force in 2001. I've done a follow-up task force of the JOA in 2005. I was president of Hastings for the last year and a half, and I've been involved in the lawsuit, writing affidavits to keep the eviction of our community centers. And for those of you who might look a little bit familiar, I work down the street at Superstore, so I've been there for 25 years, so you might recognize me. That's about it. Thanks.
Next, we're looking at the Green Party.
Hello. How's everyone doing today? My name is Michael Weep. I'm running with the Vancouver Greens, along with Stuart McKinnon. We're looking to have 7 people running for the Greens. So we have 3 for council, 2 for Parks Board, 2 for school board. We're trying to get a mixed slate. Right now, we need help to make a change. I currently own 8.5 restaurant in Mount Pleasant. I also work at Portside in Gastown as a part owner. My goal and why I became involved in parks was I worked for the Mount Pleasant Implementation Committee. We were looking after the capital plan, how we could change our neighborhood, how we could make it better. And we were treated with such disrespect from the city, and we were terminated before we were able to complete our job. At that point, I realized that things needed to change. And parks have been a big part of my life. I have worked for the park board for over 8 years. Both my brothers worked for the park board. So for me, parks is what I care about. Parks is what I know. Parks are what I want to help change. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Stuart McKinnon. I'm very proud to be a Green Party candidate for Park Commissioner. I'm a special education teacher at Killarney Secondary. I'm also on the Board of Governors of the Van Dusen Botanical Gardens Association. Prior to that, I was a Park Board Commissioner from 2008 to 2011, where I was really pleased to be the liaison commissioner to Renfrew, where today I'm still a member of this association. And we're very proudly, I attended every single board meeting that I possibly could as the liaison, because I think that's really important, that the park board commissioners know what's going on in the community, and how you do that is by being with the people in the community centers. That's a great thing. Prior to that, I've been a public spaces and parks advocate for the past 15 years. My time is up, and I look forward to your questions and having a great conversation tonight. Thank you.
And now we'll hear from the idea candidate.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Jamie Lee Hamilton, and I'd like to acknowledge that we are on unceded Coast Salish territory. I was born and raised in Vancouver, in the Strathcona neighborhood, and I've served on a number of city committees. I've been on the steering committee, a park board funded Downtown East Side Arts and Parks Committee. I've served on the Pride Board and on our Gay, Lesbian, Transgender Center. I'm passionate about parks and recreation issues. I've attended in the last 2 terms 80% of the meetings, and I've been very worried about how we've had increasing commercialization in our parks. I'm very worried that Vision, under its 2 terms, has not created one park. Thank you. And I'll talk to you more later. Thank you.
And we have one more independent candidate.
Hi everybody, sorry for being late. As I'm independent, I was actually trying to make it to 2 meetings because I canceled the delegate. My name is James Bakshan. I'm running for park board. I'm independent. I believe in not commercialization in our parks. I'm a little bit upset about what's been going on with the Cactus Club on English Bay, and with the Boathouse at Kids Beach, and with the Vancouver Art Gallery with art mulch on it. I'm not too happy with the attempted dissipation of the community centers. And I think what we need to do is not have a majority on either party at the Parks Board. I think we need a multiple amount of candidates from different parties and an independent voice. I'm not funded by anybody. And I guess that's all I have time to say. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. It sounds like it's a great team. It's going to be a hard decision for the voters. There are a lot of excellent candidates. I can relate to most of you since I'm raised in Vancouver, attended all the community centers and all the other items you have mentioned, and that's why everybody else is here. They can relate to the Parks Board issues that everybody has brought up. Now, again, I just want to remind, this is for the Parks Board. This is for Parks Commissioner positions. And if any questions come up that pertain strictly to the school board or strictly to city council issues, I will not be asking these of the candidates. So if anybody is wondering why the question wasn't asked, well, it may be a matter of time, but we're hoping to get through all of them. It may be that the issue is not one that pertains to Parks Board, and it would be best asked of candidates in another forum. And I'm going to mention right off the bat, there's a question about bylaw 280 and the incinerator, and that is not a Parks Board issue. I'm sorry, that question won't be asked of the candidates here. Although I'm sure many of them have opinions as well. But that's not a Parks Board issue. The first question that comes up, and I'm going to combine these 2 questions actually. The first one is, what are your views and policies regarding off-leash dogs in our parks? And the second part of that, I'm going to combine it with the next question. So whoever gets it can answer it as a 2-part question. With 36% of households owning a dog, and yet only 6% of park space and 4% of park space in the summer, what will you do to create more dog parks? And since we started with the MPAA last time in introductions, we're going to start with the Vision Party first in answering. Please select which of you candidates will answer that. And again, it applies to the 1-minute rule, and we've got Cassandra and Tanya.
Thank you. It's a really great question. A dog owner myself, I totally understand the importance of having space where we can take our 4-legged family friends to burn off some energy. So With Vision, we're committed to continuing to work on the citywide consultation with dog owners across the city to come up with a community-developed plan that works for Vancouver so that we can figure out where are the best locations that we can put in new dog parks within the city. We're committed to 3 or 4 new dog parks within the city moving forward. If elected, as well as we're committed to eliminating staggered hours within our dog parks, because we understand that for many of us, we don't work a classic 9 to 5, and we can't determine that people are only going to walk their dog at certain hours, and we know that our dogs sometimes need to go out at other times. So it's an issue that's important to us, and I really look forward to, if elected, continuing the conversation with you. Thank you.
And next, if we have someone from COPE answer that question, can the microphone be passed on from there? Great.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Dogs are very important to the city, and I think we need more dog parks, but also have more spaces in parks like Trout Lake, which is, there's a lot of dog owners in that area. So we need to have more spaces and look at innovative ways of having dog spaces rather than fences, have like kind of plants or shrubs to create that safety. And we need to have maybe more park rangers to make sure that people's safety is addressed. But definitely we need to review more spaces for dogs in our parks and more dog parks.
Thank you first. And just choose amongst yourselves who from the party members.
I find it a complicated issue because I've seen other parts of Canada where they try to put in special areas for dogs, and they've been a disaster. I know my brother, he stopped taking his dog there because he was getting attacked. I remember one time watching a group of dogs in one place like that, and just like it turned like that, they all turned on one other dog. So if you're going to have these things, it has to be studied and it has to be handled so that the people that are bringing their dogs should be trained on how to handle their dog and bring them into their farm. And I think until that's done, I'm not prepared to put expensive land, which it is right now in Vancouver, a park for that without having the infrastructure behind it to make sure it works. Thank you.
Stuart McKinnon from the Green Party. I'm a dog owner, happy to say that. As of Tuesday night, the Green Party is the only party that actually answered the Vancouver Dog Owners Group email. And we put out our ideas on this. This has been a contentious issue in Vancouver for a very, very long time. And we've had studies here, and they've not been very successful. They're not good at looking at this. And so we looked at where they have other jurisdictions where it is successful. And Calgary seems to be the closest place that it's working well. And so I think that we could build our off-leash areas based on the Calgary model, which includes, just read here, lots of parks and amenities, real engagement with dog owners as stakeholders and park stewards, programming and outreach to encourage responsible ownership, school outreach programs to teach kids, and partnerships within the community.
Thank you. I'm not feeling good tonight, so I probably won't be standing long. I'm Jamie Lee Hamilton from IDEA. My good friend Laura McDermott, who served as a MPA chair, I often consult with her on this issue because she was the one that brought the dog policy in. I obviously support expanded hours in parks because I think a lot of people work night shift and can't get out earlier in the evening, and I also am in favor of having wider areas for off-leash dogs. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Jenny Castros, independent candidate for parks. My answer is very clear. Not everyone is probably going to like it, but I think we definitely need more off-leash areas for dogs. We have far too many dogs in the city for the amount of green space that they're given. I think that people and dogs have been coexisting in parks forever, so I don't see any reason why this can't continue somehow. I am not personally a dog owner. I do live near Trout Lake and I frequent that park very often with my 2 young children, and I've never encountered any issues with the dogs personally. So dog owners, I would like to advocate on your behalf. We also do need to encourage responsible dog ownership. That's very important. The citywide consultation has been ongoing for 3 years, and while I do believe that public consultation is very important, I think it's time for some action. Thank you.
And last, we've got the NPA part.
Hi there, JJ Paul running for Park Board. I'm with the NPA. I've also got a dog at home. It's a Great Dane. It's about this high, well, this long, and so I understand the concern about dog parks. John Cooper, in this term, has actually brought forward a proposal to expand the Olympic Village dog park on vacant land, and it was actually voted down by Vision. So, and also the proposal that Vision has right now for dog parks is tied into a other community activity. For $2.25 million, they want to do Dr. Sunday saying, lawn renewal, golf course improvements, Mountain View Cemetery improvements, and dog parks. So I'm not sure how they're going to get those things done for the dog parks, which is what they're promising. So with us, with the NP, what we do is authentic consultation in the actual areas where they want dog parks, make sure that the condo owners or the house owners are happy with the dog park to make sure it's a solution for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. The next question. If elected, will you commit to establishing youth hubs and a women's hub to provide better access to services, information, and safe spaces to gather? And we're going to start with the Coke Party on this one.
Hi everyone, with the Coalition. Hi everyone, everyone Jamal with the Coalition of Progressive Electors. At COPE, we are committed to advocating on behalf of youth, and that's why I am in particular running. And we're also committed to advocating on behalf of women. And that's why the majority of our slates are women-identified candidates. In the realms of creating a community hub for youth and women, one of our ideas is to base a community center that is based on the model of a community center in Toronto that serves to provide for the residents that are most marginalized in the city. And it brings together essentially the most diverse residents in the city, as well as community programming for LGBTQ populations, for women and for youth. And so we'd like to see something similar happen here in Vancouver. And so COPE will be pushing for something like that here as well. Thank you.
If elected, yeah, sure. I mean, I was president of Hastings, or past president now, and we've done hubs through Hastings, Startup Hub, Food Network Hub, we've done there. We've also done a live, Aboriginal Outreach Hub. Hubs are great. Our hubs are fantastic ways for communities to come together and promote ideas and stuff. And so, yeah, for sure.
Hello, Michael Weave with the Greens. Yes, so I would, for youth is a big part. So when I was a lifeguard, we actually started the Vancouver Lifeguard Association. I was one of the co-founders. And we basically engaged youth in first aid and engaged youth in being involved in the lifeguard industry. And so it's a way to get people to do different things. Right now, youth don't have a place to enjoy. So we need to find hubs where we can get youth together, come up with creative ideas, make sure the community centers have the programming for women and for youth that makes sense and it's made by them. Bring them into the consultation process, not us telling them what they want. I think that's what happens a lot with youth, is that we think we know what they want because we were youth at one time. we're not youths anymore. We need youths to make through that. They're the ones that know how to stay on.
Thank you for raising that issue. I think these social issues are very important at Park Board, and Park Board needs to take some leadership on this issue. We have many empty field houses right now, and artists have been applying for the use of them, but we could very easily have a youth hub, a women's hub, and other hubs to help marginalized groups. So yes, if elected, I would certainly look at that very favorably. Thank you.
Earl, can I have your hands up?
Hello. For women, president of board of the Adams Mother Center, and I've been a board member over 10 years, and we have transitional housing for 60 ladies who are abused or need help, and we house them, and we help them find places to live, and I agree with you.
And I also want to recognize one of our other MP candidates, Christopher Richardson, for school board, who's joined us. Kirk LaPointe, our mayoral candidate, has talked quite a bit about his goal to create mentorship programs throughout the city, and matching youth with adults who can provide their time to help mentor and grow and develop our youth. And I think women's hubs as well are a natural extension of that. We certainly see our community centers playing a huge role in that. You are the heart and soul of your communities, and you have the facilities as well as the infrastructure and the passion volunteers to knit that together. So that's a philosophy that very much aligns with ours at the MPA. Definitely that's something that we've spoken about in our platform, and that's something that we are committed to implementing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really proud that Vision Vancouver has such a strong history of working with various communities across the city. We have advisory committees that Vision Vancouver set up when we first took power: LGBTQ Advisory Committee, Children, Youth and Families Advisory Committee, Women's Advisory Committee. These are all things the MPA voted against. It's not surprising that they voted against them. It's a difference in values. The values of inclusion, the values of working together, the values of getting advice from the people who are being affected by the decisions we're making. These are the people that we want to hear from in Vision, and that's the kind of government that we are. I want to say also that it's one thing to engage youth. It's another to put them in government. I'm very proud to be the youngest person ever elected in Vancouver's history, and I'm very proud to be the person running for re-election from Vision Vancouver. I think that speaks to the values of our party. Thank you very much.
Covered everybody on this one? Great, okay. The next question. After 2 years of negotiation between community centers and the Parks Board, it is still far from reaching an agreement. If elected, what changes would you put in place to move the negotiations forward? And this time we're going to start with Vancouver first.
Hi everybody. I think the negotiations started. Here. Well, I think the negotiations started in 2001. Actually, we put together a task force, the Association Presidents Group, which had included presidents and past presidents of all community centers, came together in 2001 with Parks Board staff to look at ways of improving the joint operating agreement, to improve the working relationship. That's gone on for a number of years now. I think it's close to 13, 14 years now, and things have gone considerably worse. Vancouver First is making a recommendation to go for an independent model. One of the models that came out in the Joint Operating Agreement Task Force in 2001. Since then, Parks Board staff has been pushing towards an advisory model, making sure that the associations can only pick the colors of which the buildings were painted, and not really the programming that goes on in the four corners of the these walls. So we're committed to bringing back the independent model of how we first started the community associations and how we believe things should be run.
Before I begin, I just want to recognize a great friend of Renfrew Park Community Center and our local MLA here, Adrian Dix. Thank you. The Green Party believes very strongly that this process has been dysfunctional since the beginning, and we believe that the process should stop. Stop now. Stop the court cases, stop the eviction notices, stop. Restart with dignity, with generosity, and with honesty. The process has been plagued with dishonesty from the beginning. So we need to stop, reboot, start again.
Thank you. I have a one card, and I think we need to scrap this. When you negotiate, you go into negotiations with an open mind, with no preconditions. And Vision brought forward preconditions, and it's like holding a gun to your head and saying you have to agree, and that's no way to negotiate. I think we can move forward. It's a very dysfunctional atmosphere that we have right now, and the only way that we can move forward is getting rid of that card. Thank you.
James Bachshan, Independent. I'm not in favor of what happened with Park Board taking over the operations of the community centers and trying to force a mandate onto everybody and tell everybody from a centralized location how the community centers who have been running themselves really quite well as best they can for 60, 70, 80 years. All these hardworking individuals, I think the community centers need to be run by people at the community centers. I would just pull the one-card system altogether, but maybe you could negotiate a little bit on what's good and bad, what the community centers need, and I would pull out of the court cases that it's not a place for the courts, it's a place for the people. By the way, I'm for a little more dog park action. I don't think we need to be that tight on all that. Not fenced in areas of Trout Lake or at Haddon Park, Dog Beach. We just need to loosen up a bit on that. Thank you.
I'm Erin Shum of the NPA. First of all, the NPA's #1 priority is to rebuild the Community Center Association relationship. And second of all, we want to host the Park Board meetings outside of the Park Board office. We want to come to the community where we can be seen, heard, and understood. And that's where we want to have a public consultation where we can talk to you. We can talk to what the community wants and listen to what the community wants and be that voice for you at Park Board. So we're ready to restore and rebuild some of those severed relationships with the Community Center Association. And second of all, let's have our joint operating agreement reviewed. Let's get that joint operating agreement in place.
Thank you. For the past 13 years, the Park Board has tried to renew the joint operating agreement. It started in 2001 under an NPA board. They failed to renew the joint operating agreement. 2004 under a Cook board, it was tried to be renewed again. And then Vision has been trying to renew it. And we've been the most successful because we've got 14 community center associations that were able to come together and sign an interim agreement, which led to the one card. The one card is now being held by 135,000 people across our city. 40% of those people are low income, which means that they have a 50% discount at community centers all across the city. I think that's really important. We need to engage more people and bring them into our community centers so that they can enjoy them in the same way that we all do. They can go and use the programs, they can get into the pools, they can get into the ice rinks. The only way that we're going to do that is to reach out to more people and get them involved. That's why inclusivity and access is so important. That's why equity is so important. That's your commitment with Vision Vancouver.
Anita Roman goes. The current Vision Majority Park Board seems to be content to let the lawsuit proceed while the other community centers association is still negotiating and spinning the wheels after more than 50 meetings. First thing we have to do is get that lawsuit off the table and do away with the preconditions, especially this overhanging thing of what we're doing to centralize the funds, even if it's expensive to be on the table in public. They keep telling us there's preconditions, so there's something wrong there. Then we have to all sit down, including park commissioners, they're the ones that set the policy, not staff, and sit down and negotiate as equals an agreement that recognizes the contributions of the community associations to the buildings, to the programs, because they know their communities, and have something that fits each community, because one size does not fit all. Thank you.
Okay, the next question. What importance do you place on the construction of a public indoor tennis facility in Vancouver? And we're going to start with the Green Party on this.
Sorry, I always had a little discussion. So for the full-time tennis courts, there are other cities that have done it where they have tennis courts that come on and come off. In this city, we love our outdoor space, and I think that a full-time, full-year tennis court makes sense, but we can't get rid of park space. The Green Party is committed to making sure that grass stays grass. So we don't want to build an extra facility where it takes away from grass. But we do need full-time usage in this city, and I think that a covered tennis court is a great idea.
Jamie Lee Hamilton, in 2011, it was in the capital plan. Where it went, you have to ask Vision that. We should have an indoor tennis court. You can't, with our rainy weather here, you can't always play outdoors. And Richmond has an indoor court, and also they have many of their courts lit up at night, and we don't. And so there has been a site located by the tennis working group over at Champlain, and I think we need to move ahead. It was promised and then never delivered. So I don't really like politicians who make promises and don't keep them.
I also, I'm just going to echo mostly what Jamie said there. I think that construction of an indoor tennis court facility would be a worthwhile project to pursue. It's unfortunate that it got left behind in the last plan. And while I understand that Champlain Heights has been identified as an optimal location, I think that it would be important to consult the community around Champlain Heights before moving forward with anything, but definitely indoor tennis courts is something that we could use in the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Jonathan Cooper from the NPA. You know, one of the difficulties that we have dealing with this vision administration is the fact that we have a $154 million capital plan, which is a page and a quarter. And when you drill down into it and you look at where the money is, it's very difficult to see whether they're following through on any of their commitments, to be quite honest. For instance, sport fields and courts is $10.64 million. Included in that is tennis and sport court improvement, but also included is outdoor track and field training, new synthetic turf field, playing fields, major grass field upgrade, ball diamonds, hammer and point grade turf replacement, tennis and sports courts improvements, not new facility, and outdoor recreation under the Canopy Bridge North. So the real difficulty is the lack of transparency in their budget. You can't tell, and we've seen that with the last capital plan, where there's no line items. So it's very hard for you to tell what is it they're going to do with this money. And we've seen time and time again, money in a capital plan like Marple Community Center, half of it and it disappears. Thank you.
who is organizing recreational sports and has seen the power of sport and what it can do within a person's individual life as well as within their community. It's an important thing that we need to continue to move forward on when it comes to accessibility, but as well as building infrastructure around recreation. Now, within this current capital plan, we don't have money for a covered tennis court. However, there were new tennis courts put in at Kids Beach, and I appreciate the outline that John gave there, because what it does speak to is it speaks to our commitment to improving our recreational facilities and putting in infrastructure, putting in benches, improving our field conditions and our drainage, putting in new field houses, putting in washrooms in our parks, because we want to make sure that when people use our facilities, that they're good quality facilities, because that's what we're proud of in Vancouver. We're proud of our parks, and we want people of every walk of life to be able to use them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ezra. So I think that there's a definite need for more recreational space in general, and specifically looking at the downtown area, there's a large gap where density has been growing really quickly, and facilities haven't been keeping up. And I'm talking about the area between Yaletown and Science World along Falls Creek there, and that's actually zoned as parkland. So that's something that I can say that COPE will commit to, is we want to look at building a community center facility in that area. There's a huge strain on Strathcona Community Center right now. It's zoned parkland. We need to get the funding for it, and we need to expand the facility in that area, because there's a huge influx of population coming to that area. There's new condo towers coming up every time. There's not enough parking space for these people, let alone recreational facilities. And there's tennis courts right there, open air tennis courts that people go play there all the time. So I'm not saying Champlain Heights is right out, but I'm saying that would be a good place to look as well. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. I think the better question would have been, is the capital plan broken? Just want to get this straight. So we vote to put money into a capital plan. Money is set aside. We borrow the money, we set it aside, and we say we're going to do these projects, and they don't get done. First of all, let's bring the covered tennis courts to Champlain Heights. It deserves to be there. Let's put it there. It was in the capital plan. Let's do it. Another thing is, I don't want to make this an east versus west, but if you guys bid to Rupert Park tennis courts, there's grass coming up through the ground and everything. It's horrible over there. I know Kitsilano's got a great youth facility, but I mean, if you're going to say that you're going to encourage people to do sports and recreation, you should at least give them a facility to be able to do that, or an area to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're moving along quite well. If you have any questions, please write them down over there, back, and the team back there will bring them up forward. So the next question is, do you agree with the current Parks Board deal with the question of whales and dolphins in captivity? What should have been done, and what would your party do if elected? So we're going to start with the idea party on this one.
There we go. Jamie Lee Hamilton with IDEA. I am the only candidate that got endorsed by No Whales in Captivity, and I'm very proud of that. I have always stood on the side that the public should have a say in this very contentious issue. Vision had an opportunity to bring a referendum forward, and they didn't. In 1990, we had a referendum on the zoo, and the public voted to close it. It was closed. And I really think, I don't believe in keeping cetaceans in captivity, and there should be no breeding. It's about time that the aquarium decides, are they an entertainment facility or a research facility?
I believe no whales or dolphins. Just let them go.
Hi there. I think it's really important to acknowledge issue, and I think many people here in Vancouver grew up attending the Vancouver Aquarium and have a lot of connection to it. And I think first and foremost, I want to acknowledge a lot of the great conservation research and education initiatives that the aquarium does deliver in the community, whether it's the Ocean-wide Sustainable Seafood Program, whether it's research such as echolocation with dolphins so that I can call it fishing nets in the wild, etc. And they're able to do that through having had those animals there. I think that the way that this process was handled was extremely flawed, and I think it was biased because what Vision did by pulling that very hasty situation together was to leave them the aquarium in a very difficult situation where they didn't tell them they could not have cetaceans, but they told them they could not breed them. It is not humane to not enable those cetaceans to breed, but I think this is something that we need to be very thoughtful about. I think people have strong feelings about it, but I can tell you, having worked at the aquarium, I know a lot of kids that became biologists because they're exposed to that and had a chance to see those animals and gain appreciation for them in the wild, and have an appreciation for sustainable practices. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I am fully on board with the decision that the past park board made. I think that they made a very thoughtful and reasonable decision. They took a lot of community consultation into consideration. Hundreds of people spoke at the meetings. There also was reports that were done, research that was done, that was brought forward to the park board. It's a difficult decision. People fall on both sides. But I truly think that we are a compassionate enough society that we can understand that it's time for us to move past large cetaceans breeding in captivity. As an ecologist myself, I have a deep connection with our mammals and with our environment, and I truly believe that this is a time that we need to continue to move forward. And Gregor Robertson, he made a commitment not to go forward on a referendum because he respected that we have an independent park board and the decision that the park board made. Thank you very much.
Okay, like I said, I ran for the park board in '96, and whales in captivity is an issue then, and still an issue now, hasn't changed. And we've been pushing for no whales in captivity since then. And yes, it's an independent park board, and it made an independent decision, but it will not phase out whales from captivity. We support the ban, but does not go far enough. COPE called for a referendum to be put before the voters this time around, and the park board decided not to do that. So COPE is committed to have a referendum on the whales. There is going to be a mail-out referendum this spring on transportation, and we want to put the whales and dolphins on the ballot, as well as making Vancouver a tanker-free zone. So we're committed to that, going to the people and phasing out the whales, because the ban is not going to do that, although it's a good idea.
Well, this is one of those questions where it's the will of the majority that should count. And one thing about I'm learning right now, being a politician, you can have your own opinions on something, but you can't force those opinions on what grassroots people think. So the obvious answer to that is a referendum, get a classic vote on that, and then put it together.
Thank you very much. Long-term green policy has been to have a plebiscite. We don't believe that 7 people around one table or 10 people around the other table at Park Board or at Council should be making this decision. This is a decision for the people of Vancouver. It's an issue for 2 reasons. One, the aquarium is a tenant of the Park Board, and so we have a stake in it. It's an issue also because in 2015, next year, the cetacean bylaw is to be reviewed. I brought a motion to Park Board in 2010 to have a plebiscite. Vision and the NPA voted that down. They didn't want that. This year, Councillor Carr, Green Party, Adrian Carr, asked City Council then if Park Board was unwilling to let the people have the say on it, it should be on this ballot. Vision and NPA voted it down. In fact, it didn't even get onto the floor. We need a referendum so that you can make that decision, not Park Board, not the councillors.
is a dog owner up here? That's it, just some show of hands. That was a simple one for everyone. Okay. Go around the table again. There are more than 200 buildings under Parks Board that may or may not contain asbestos. How would you tackle the problem? Most of the facilities are used by youth and children, and many have not even been inspected if they have asbestos. So we're going to start on this side this time, and we're going to start with that.
Just quickly, I'm against patients in captivity. I think they should be phased out. But again, if you elect one of these parties, you're going to get them in captivity. The major parties, one of the other major parties, they're going to be phased out. That's why I think you need an independent park board with many different parties on board, so there could be good, healthy debate on that. As far as the asbestos is a tricky thing. It's probably in almost all old buildings. And my understanding is, if it's undisturbed and untouched and sealed in there, it actually isn't a health threat, but I'm not saying it shouldn't be checked. And probably there should be a review of all the buildings just to make sure that there isn't any health issues on it. It can be checked, but I don't think you can just absolutely say you're going to pull out every bit of every building. It just is not realistic, but yes, it should be checked. Thank you.
With the NPA team. I think this speaks to our team that we have here, different backgrounds, different industries, and myself, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I understand facilities. And it's tough to say at this day and age we still have this issue of asbestos hasn't been reviewed fast enough in our buildings. I think we definitely need to make sure this gets handled sooner than later, such that we can ensure that if there's a seismic event or any other event, such that we don't have asbestos to deal with in places where children and elders spend a lot of time, and general public as well too. So I would, along with the EPA board, make sure that this gets handled sooner and should be fast tracked as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. In fact, we had a decision, one of the first park board decisions that I was able to make was about whether we should keep a building with asbestos or whether we should close it down. This is the old Riley Park Community Center. And we thought that it was better to take that old community center down and turn it back to park space. And of course, the NPA voted against that. But that's, again, a difference in values. We think that buildings full of asbestos should not remain open, that we need to make the upgrades to remove the asbestos. That's why we put money in this capital plan for community center maintenance renovations, which is very important to remove the asbestos from the old buildings and to make the upgrades for them so that they are safe for all people.
Yes, we have a problem in our community center system in that we have many aging community centers and rec facilities that are anywhere from 40 to over 60 years old. We are not rebuilding them fast enough. The school board had, and the province had an aggressive program to rebuild the schools, or at least remediate them. We need something like that for Park Board. Obviously, anything that is contaminated with asbestos can't wait. So that in the shorter term, while we're lobbying the various levels of government, because we need council and part of the city governments on site to rebuild these facilities, is to have inspections and take remedial action until we can get new facilities in place to replace those that badly need replacing. Thank you.
I really wasn't even aware that tests were done. I remember this being done with the school board when I was at Thunderbird, that they came in and checked and they tested and ripped out the ceiling panels and then replaced them. I think definitely if elected, inquire about why this isn't being done at community centers and if needed, do the necessary repairs and do it quickly, sooner rather than later. I think it's common sense, so that's all I have to say.
Michael Weave, Green Party. So this is the main issue about maintenance. Our facilities have been falling apart. Dunbar has 9 of 22 rooms that can actually be used for programming. We let these things fall apart to the point where we want to build new ones and we get some developers to build nicer facilities. All I hear is we need new facilities. We need to fix our old facilities. We need to clean up our old facilities. All the lifeguard shacks we worked at, so many were falling apart to the point where they just waited to get a new one so they could build a bigger restaurant and change it up. We have great historical facilities that need to be maintained. Let's put our money into maintenance, fixing the greenest buildings, the green building that's already been built. So let's fix our buildings and clean them up and give an independent review for the asbestos. Thank you.
Anywhere that children play, Park Board has not only a moral obligation to ensure safety, but a legal one. And one of the first acts I would like to see upon Park Board taking office, the park commissioners who are elected, is that a report come forward on the state of affairs. And Commissioner Lowe, I think you have to be a bit careful with the facts here. You talk about that you follow through with capital plan items, but that's not true. Mount Pleasant outdoor pool never followed through. Hillcrest, there's issues there. And I just think that you need to be really, really considerate of the public when you make these types of proclamations. There was no money and it wasn't promised to have an asphalt bike lane through Kits Park.
Okay, this next question is specifically addressed to Commissioner Lowe. So once he has answered it, if any other party would like to address the issue, please raise your hand and I'll give a chance to anybody else who would like to address it. So the question is, what makes you believe that the 12 to 14 community center associations at the table are somehow happy? Some are there out of fear. If we're not there, the opposed JOA youth would eliminate us.
Well, thank you very much for that question. I believe that the community center associations are at the table out of the good of the communities that they represent. That the volunteers there are working hard and they want to make sure that everybody has good community centers across the city. And so that's really important to recognize, that the people at the negotiating table are volunteers, and we need to recognize that. And as a park board, we need to steward that relationship, which is why a new joint operating agreement is so important. I know that it's been a long time. Negotiations are tough. 14 months of negotiations are really tough. But if we stop now, we're putting all of that good work at risk. We're putting that interim agreement at risk, that one part at risk. And that means a lot to people. That means a lot to families in our city. People that go home and can take their kids to a local pool, to a community center to engage in a program. Let's not put that at risk. Let's continue working hard with our community center partners, with these volunteers who've been working so hard for the past 14 months, and let's get a new joint operating agreement.
Anybody want to answer so I know? Okay. All right, we'll start over here and then we'll go around.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to clarify a couple of things. Commissioner Loeb made a statement about Riley Park. He's very quick to say who voted for what and who didn't. But the actual fact of the matter was, the Riley Park community came to the park board and we suggested a moratorium on the destruction of that building because the community had some other ideas. We have tremendous growth around the Canby corridor with development, and there was talk about perhaps a senior center, additional recreation center. And as was said earlier, the greenest building is one that's already there. Vision wasn't even prepared to give the community 90 days to reconsider what could happen with that facility. Another point, the other night at Kits, Trevor Loeb made the wild assertion that there was $20 million in the plan for dog parks, which I corrected him on. There's approximately $1 million in the capital plan. So, Trevor, I would just caution you to be careful about making statements about somebody voted for this or that, unless you're prepared to back it up with the facts.
I'm going to go in order first and then read.
I certainly believe that community associations care about their community and the community centers. And I also believe that the 6 that are in the lawsuit are ones that care equally as much as the ones that are negotiating and the ones who have dropped out of negotiations. This isn't a matter of caring about your community. It is a matter, I think the ones I'm negotiating have told me they're frustrated. Some of them are afraid, yes, because if you lose your funding, if you lose your memberships and your contacts with your community, you are no longer able to work effectively as a community association and you're sidelined and you're powerless. So I do think that negotiations aren't going well. They're spinning the wheels while we wait for the lawsuit, and this is no way to negotiate an agreement.
Vancouver First firmly believes in an independent model for community associations. Community associations are fantastic organizations. Most of them are non-profits. Some of them are even registered charities. Places like Thunderbird, where I started out at, would go provincially and federally to get money to subsidize programs for low-income families. You know, it's located across the street from subsidized social housing, and you know, referring to the one card, Trevor Locus said something that was remarkable. He says they're offering 50% off program. Well, some of the programs offered at Thunderbird are free, so 50% free doesn't really mean very much. So, you know, there's a lot of community associations. Let's all go back and give support to the wonderful volunteers, the nonprofit organizations that are in community center associations. Thank you.
It's a great question, and it's absolutely true. I believe that some of the community center associations do feel intimidated. We had a group from the beginning who felt that the negotiations were not in good faith, and they withdrew. And since then, 2 more, Kensington and Renfrew Park here, have withdrawn because they say the negotiations are dysfunctional and not in good faith. You don't negotiate by making threats. You don't say that it's my way or the highway, that if you don't agree to this, we're going to evict you. That is wrong. That's not negotiation, and that's why the Green Party is saying that these negotiations have to stop. We need to end. We need to sit down, hopefully, with new commissioners around the table who will negotiate in good faith with the community center associations.
Oh my goodness, you know, if you do, you're under threat. If you don't negotiate, you're going to be threatened with eviction, with the other centers have been. You know, Vision can claim that the one card is a success, but I want to tell you, under the community center associations, the yearly cost for programming was $267. Under one card, it's going up to $367. That's a 30% increase. And they brought in one card saying that they wanted to create equity for the have-not centers. Well, those have-not centers are going to be the hardest hit because of that increase. So, you know, you better get your facts straight there.
Thank you again. It is within our platform to fence more areas. We're going to commit from 3 to 4 new off-leash dog parks within our city, and we're going to do that in consultation with the general public. Commissioner Cooper was mentioning before that there was dog parks that he wanted to see in the area where he lives. I don't think that would be like me saying that I wanted to have a new off-leash dog park in the West End, which I don't think is a very fair thing. I think the people of Vancouver need to be part of the conversation in terms of where the new off-leash areas go. And that's what we want to do. That's why we had a public consultation process and in terms of a new off-leash dog strategy. So 3 to 4 new dog parks is what we're committing to. But we also think that we need to have upgrades. And so the $20 million that I brought up the other night, John, I'm so glad you brought it up, speaks to the park upgrades that Vision Vancouver is making. And I would encourage you to look at the capital plan and find the number within that. So we've got current off-leash. I don't interrupt you when you speak, so I'll just finish. I think that it's really important to not only create new off-leash dog areas, but also to make upgrades to the existing ones. That's what we're going to do.
Just go around the table and microphone to Cope, please.
Yeah, it looks like there's a really strong dog lobby here, so that, which is good. So the question specifically about fences, right? Where we
Specifically regarding fencing
yes.
only.
So specifically the fences, is that, and I did allude to this earlier, is that we like to see different ways of doing that other than fences, like natural landscaping and hedges and other ways of creating separate spaces for dogs and people. And I think because there is a balance between the rights of dog owners having space for the dogs, but also public safety, and that balance is really important. So we need to find innovative ways of dealing with that. And also, we know we can have more staff, such as park rangers and so on, to look for public safety and having those hours where we can have off-leash hours for the dogs in parks where it's needed. There's more and more people with dogs, so we need to do that. Thank you.
Okay, just in keeping with the time, and there are quite a few more questions. As we go through, this question was specifically regarding fencing. So Cassandra, if we can do the yellow card at the 30-second mark and the red one at the 40 seconds. So you have a total of 40 seconds of this question as opposed to a minute. And then when there have been rebuttals at the table here, if we can leave those to the end, every candidate will have a minute at the very end of this to address any of the issues that came up and any concerns that are of rebuttal. So rather than have them go across the table.
So the fencing issue, one, fences are expensive, which means the dog parks are smaller. The one in the Olympic Village is not. I would never take my dog, which I do not have, in that park. It's also, the main thing about these parks is that we're looking for parks and we want access. We want to be able to walk through them. We want them to be natural. The parks are too urban designed at the moment. I just walked through here and it blew my mind to watch the go through and see the natural forest when you walk into this community center. That is a park, right? We don't want a gravel pit that is fenced in. Let's remove these big fences. They're expensive and they're not what we need in our park.
Doug?
James Bunchon. I don't believe in fenced-in dog parks. I think if they're going to be allowed to roam, let them run. It's part of a larger picture of the park board's control of the parks and not leaving them be natural. The new parks are being paved. There's one at 6th and Fir that's concrete and bark mulch. There's 18th and Main, which is just a joke. It's a rolled up red steel. There's bike lanes trying to go through Kids Beach. We need to leave our parks open and natural, generally speaking. Thank you.
Okay, we're totally new topic. After studying successful models currently in place in Calgary, Edmonton, Seattle, Huntington, and San Francisco, a proposal was drafted to introduce a pilot public campfire pit on a select Vancouver beaches. Knowing the success of the other public campfires in the other cities, would you support a trial project in Vancouver for a public campfire pit? And I'm going to start this one with Vancouver first.
I don't know how many of you have gone down to New Brighton.
It's on.
I don't know how many of you have gone down to New Brighton, but there seems to be camping pits there all the time anyway. Yeah, maybe we should take a look at this. It looks like that's what the people want. That's what government should be, listening to the people and doing what they want. And if that's what people want, it's a good way to bring it in safely and so that you can have it.
So this isn't an easy matter because fires on our beaches are very dangerous. So as a lifeguard in the morning, we used to go look for any pit because you could uncover them and kids would burn themselves. So they have to be off the sand. So when we looked at a few of them, New Brighton's fantastic, the amount of families that have big gatherings. We need more spaces where people can interact in social places. So yes, we'll be looking at the options, but safety will be one of our first priorities because they do create a lot of issues.
Well, I grew up as a brownie and as a Girl Guide leader, so I understand how fun it is to have a campfire. So with proper consultation and discussing with our fire department and asking what's the best way to have some fun in our parks, but without being a dangerous situation for the public. So I believe we should look into consultation and have a nice discussion with the fire department because that's what they know best. And I think it's a great idea, but we need to discuss it in detail with the fire department.
Well, thank you. Like you, Aaron, I was a scout for 10 years, and so I also recognize the importance of the campfire. I had the privilege of doing a walkthrough of our beaches with the Vancouver Police Department and the Vancouver Fire Department recently, and this is really important for me because I love the idea of a campfire. I love the nostalgia that brings me back to sitting around a campfire with my family. But we also recognize that there's dangers that come with this. Not just the dangers the fires represent, but the activity that happened around them in terms of the criminal activity that they bring. So we need to work in consultatively with our Vancouver Police Force and with our fire department to come up with a solution for this. I want to hear from them and I want to hear from the public on this before we move forward.
One more.
Hi, everyone from the Coalition for Progressive Electors. I too think that the public safety issue and aspect of that is very important. But I also agree that our spaces should be more sociable and have more opportunities for such activities because a lot of stuff here have been previous scouts and value the essence of campfires. As a UBC student, I know that a lot of students at UBC would appreciate this, so I think as a trial project, if it's happened in other cities, I think that perhaps a trial project near Spanish Banks or Wreck Beach would be something that I would definitely push for.
Okay, someone's passed me the hockey scores. Anyone recording the game, or do you want to know where we're at? Oh, someone's recording it. Okay, I won't say. Okay, I won't say. Okay. Last week, I personally brought my wheelbarrow and shovel to Trout Lake Dog Park and filled the holes because the dog almost broke its leg falling into one. What will each party do specifically about improving basic park maintenance? And this time we're going to start with Green Park.
Thank you for the question. This is a topic very close to my heart. Since Vision Vancouver was elected in 2008, the maintenance budget has been reduced. Our parks have not looked as bad as this in all of my life. We need to invest in our parks. We need to remember that we are the Board of Parks and Recreation, that parks are important, that maintenance is important. Down where I live down by the Fraser River at the foot of Kerr Street. A beautiful park that goes from Kerr Street all the way to Nanaimo Street. It used to be a beautiful park with flowers and verges, and it was gorgeous. We had our maintenance reduced everywhere, so yes, fill in those holes.
Thank you. Since Vision came to power in 2008, they made $5.3 million in cuts, which have had a very serious impact on public services. I was at a meeting a couple of weeks ago at Kensington Community Center, which Vision didn't bother attending, and we were treated to a video, and I was mortified. One park on the east side had its grass cut twice during the season. In one of the washrooms, there was no door on the toilet, and I just think that's deplorable. You can find money for asphalt bike lanes, but not for essential services, and that's just wrong.
I think that basic park maintenance is definitely lacking. Thank you so much for attending the park and with your shovel and covering up the holes. Especially for me with young children, keeping our parks clean and properly maintained is something that's really important. Over the summer, I was appalled at the state of some of our public washrooms in the parks. I didn't want to take my children in there. So definitely I believe that we need to increase the maintenance staff in our parks.
John Cooper. You know, one of the shocking things that we've seen is the fact that we have 33 gardeners in the Vancouver Park system, and we have 34 people in communication at City Hall spitting the green message. I'll give you a couple examples. When I was fortunate enough to become elected as a commissioner, I reviewed the strategic plan that Vision had been working on for 3 years, and the word horticulture did not even appear in the Vancouver Park Board strategic plan. Absolutely shocking to me. When we talk about maintenance, look at one of the most iconic little buildings in our park, Stanley Park, the miniature train station, which was 50 years old this year. It burned down 2 years ago. It still has not been replaced. There's a tent there. Can you imagine in Disneyland if the train station burned down, how long it would take to have a new train station up there? A key facility in Vancouver. So a shocking lack of care.
Thank you. The quality of our fields, the quality of our parks. As I mentioned earlier, spending a lot of weekends, a lot of evenings in our parks. I have seen some holes, I've seen some bumps, and that is something that we are committed to. And as mentioned before, you know, in our platform, we're committed to investing in improving our field conditions. As someone who plays sports regularly, I understand the need for that, and it's something that we all really align with. When it comes to our maintenance, we keep hearing this 33 gardeners. That doesn't take into consideration our 12 apprentices. You know, we've doubled our maintenance staff. We're up to over 90 staff now. You know, so there's a big commitment there to continue to maintain our facilities and ensure that they're the best quality for the people in Vancouver. Thank you.
This is something dear to my heart. I happen to be a director at Kensington Community Centre. We have several parks that's under our jurisdiction. We went through there. We have a vision. Jamie Hamilton has seen it. A lot of you have seen that. That speaks for itself about the lack of maintenance, the lack of any interest and any care. They're more interested in putting commercial enterprises on. They want to pave over the grass, and you don't have to worry about cutting it. So that's the group. You keep them in there. Forget about parks. You're just going to have YMCA's or something else.
I just want to identify the Milan and Brad over there. Those are the ones that made the video for Kensington. I think they need a round of applause.
So I can tell you how we would fill in those holes. We're going to hire some people, fill those holes in. And I'm not just saying that, it's going to be great. I actually come from a long line of ditch diggers and hole fillers. So, but I'm not just saying this to kowtow to the all-powerful ditch digger lobby. I do think it's really important. We're gonna cut the communications budget in half, and I'm also an artist saying this, and five of us are artists running for COPE. We're going to cut the communications in half. We're going to raise the minimum wage, the living wage for the city, to $20 an hour, which Mission turned down the opportunity to do that. And we're going to raise the minimum wage citywide to $15 an hour. And that's how we're going to solve that.
Has everyone had a chance?
James Buckshon again. Just on the issue of the parks maintenance, I noticed what's been going on is most of the new parks coming up and what's happening to the grasses is it is being paved over, there's concrete going over, there's asphalt being going over, we're talking about astroturf, we're putting bark mulch down. The reason for this is grass is expensive to maintain. And the point about 33 gardeners is exactly right. There's about 200 some odd parks. We need more gardeners in the city. It's not just holes in the grass. There's a lot of reports about needles in the parks. That needs to be addressed. We need more maintenance. And the last thing I'll say is the washrooms sometimes, in particular at Kits Beach or something like that, in the middle of the summer, they're just disgusting. You wouldn't go into a restaurant or a department store or anywhere and see a washroom like that. Thank you.
Next question. The garbage cans have been removed from most of the community parks. Litter has increased. How do you propose to fix this? And we're we're going to start this time with the independents. So Earl, if you don't have a chance. So start.
Hi, for the garbage cans, we could have more garbage cans, more guys picking up the garbage, because every time you go to the garbage, it's piled up, it's piled over, and then you get the bugs, you get the animals, and it gets really gross. I'm a cancer survivor, and that's not healthy.
I just want to say, why don't we just put the garbage cans back out there? This is our city. We pay tax, high tax, property tax. Why are you looking for a garbage can? It should be there. It should be at your parks. It should be there so you can put your garbage away. And, you know, we shouldn't be cleaning our city. It should be done by city because that's what we're paying for as property tax, as residents of Vancouver. So let's just put the garbage cans back out there.
Well, thank you very much. I think this speaks to the joint services review that the Vancouver Park Board did, which was about amalgamating some services with the city in order to save some money. But the key message that I want to take out of this is that there are some fewer garbage cans in parks as a result, and there are recycling bins in parks for the first time, and we're going to be bringing composting to parks for the first time because this is part of the Green City Action Plan. The answer to less garbage in parks is to have less garbage in our city. Green City Action Plan speaks about how we're going to do this. And it's talking about increasing the amount of recycling that the city is doing. It's about talking about increasing the amount of compost that our city does as well. So the answer is not to solve the garbage problem by providing more garbage cans. It's to increase recycling and composting.
Yeah, I agree with you, Trevor, but we still need more garbage cans out there. So we need to do that, and what we need to reduce as well and do more recycling. I see more cities are doing more recycling and so on, and so are the community centers, which is great. So what we need to do, we need to have places appropriate so other people don't litter. So we need to take a look at all that and have to look at, we cut our communication budget in half and put more money into park services.
So, like the Lead Green Party, this is a big issue for me. I do all the zero waste in Mount Pleasant BIA. I'm also a leader with, I've gone to the conference in the 9 to speak on zero waste. I'm working with Recycling Alternatives in bringing the compost to Trail Lake for the first time as a pilot project, because bio-waste is actually one of the biggest issues once you start bringing up that first. Also, garbage cans, the BIAs have also, we've all lost all the garbage cans on the streets. And that's a big issue, and all the guys are asking for it. But we need more pickup. That's the biggest issue, is that we do have garbage cans, but they're not being picked up, and so we need more of them. And I think Trevor said,
well, when you make 5.3 million in cuts, that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a reduction of services, and when you have more garbage happening and seeing it in our city, it means that there's no money there, and we have to ask, where are the priorities? Is it to provide direct services to the public, to the community, or is it to put asphalt bike lanes through Kids Beach Park?
Okay, this next question again is for the only currently elected member. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I thought you had left the room. Sorry. Okay, but the question is addressed to Trevor, and I'm going to have you also respond to it, John. And if anybody else would like to respond to it, we're going to do it in a 30-second response. So 20-second yellow card, 30-second red card, just because the question is very specific to what's already happened. So now for your answer will be a minute because it's specific to what has gone on while you've been on the Parks Board. Okay, with the flawed negotiations over the last 2 years, why has Park Board Commissioners not involved in the process the city manager to interfere with the flawed negotiations? So that's a question for you, and then if anybody else wants to respond, we'll give you a 30 seconds. That's the question. With the flawed negotiations over the last 2 years, why has the Parks Board Commissioners not involved in the process the city manager to interfere with the flawed negotiations?
Well, as everyone should know, the Vancouver Park Board is an independent body under the Vancouver Charter, separate from Vancouver City Council. And the accountability mechanism for the Vancouver Park Board is the Park Board General Manager, who is accountable to the elected commissioners. So we want our General Manager, Malcolm Bromley, to be involved because he reports back to us. I think that's very important. I think that when that's got to be the most important thing that we have. Is our General Manager is the guy that's accountable to the Vancouver Park Board Commissioners. So we want to keep it going that way. Plain and simple.
Thank you. I was involved in the 6 original meetings with the community senate president, and the city manager was involved, and I didn't think it was actually appropriate for that to happen. The other thing is, I think the vision commissioners really elaborated their responsibility to the community centers by not rolling up their sleeves and being much more involved. We've had very little briefings, very little information, so it's really been an unfortunate situation the way it's been handled, and we've had lawsuits, we've had all kinds of things happen that should never happen. And quite honestly, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that the park board is as independent as it was. It's not anymore. It's lost its independence because this board has let things come on down from up high. It's come down from City Hall. It's been directed largely by the city manager, and that's why the city manager's been at those meetings. So the city manager has actually been involved in so other departments of the city, and that's quite shocking, actually.
Is there anybody else who wanted to answer this? Okay. So Cope can be given a microphone over there for that question. Again, we have 30 seconds only for this.
When negotiations become as dysfunctional as they are now, the Parks Commissioners darn well should get involved. They are both responsible for setting policy, and they are responsible to you, the community. And when things are going wrong in the community, they are the ones that should do something.
I agree 100% with what Lydia has just said. One of the problems that we've experienced is it's all staff driven. What's happened in the Parks Board is exempt staff, administrative staff is sort of taking over, dictating what's going to go on, rather than the people and rather than the elected officials that are supposed to be communicating together. So I think, going forward, we need to elect people that are going to be commissioners, that are going to come back to the communities, talk to the people, and resolve these issues instead of letting staff have
If anybody has any other questions, I've got 3 more left here. And just before I go to the next 3, I'm just going to remind everyone, the advance polls are open now. They're open 8 to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day from now until November 12th, except for November 11th. The closest ones to here are in Killarney Community Centre and Thunderbird Community Centre. And there is one here on Election Day. And Election Day is November 15th, and you don't have to go to the one closest to you. You can go to anyone across the city. Just a reminder for everyone, and anybody 18 and up can vote. Then you just need something to identify you. Many forms of identification are acceptable. If you're unsure, please call 311. There's an automatic number that you click on once you dial 311 that leads you to the election information.
It helps. Got anything in the mail down here on.
Yeah, it helps if you have the one that that came in the mail with you. Okay, so I've got 3 more questions to go, unless there are any others that are coming forward. So we'll move to the last 3. 4 of Vancouver's outdoor pools have closed. What are you willing to do to replace them, and how will they be funded? And let's start with the NPA on this one.
This is actually a key part of the MPA platform. We've actually committed to doubling the number of outdoor pools during the term from the current 3 to 6. I think it's really important to note that Vancouver is vastly underserved compared to other Canadian cities, and we are a coastal city, so the ability for your kids to learn to swim is important. So we are committed to restoring pools and to doubling the number in consultation with the community on where those should be located. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the question. Pools are an important part of our community. I go swimming at least twice a week. And something that we find really important with Vision and what we've committed to is looking at opportunities so we can create more opportunities for people to use our facilities. And that's why we're looking at co-location opportunities where we can have our pools, our parks all connected at one. We have $24 million committed to improving Britannia Community Center, which not only improves the fitness facilities, the pools, but it also pulls in the school and the library so we can increase childcare there. Thank you.
It's nice that Vision is going to have free swimming lessons for kids, but we need more pool time. There's not enough pools. Most of the pools on the east side have been shut down, so we need more pools here. And outdoor pools do not cost that much. In fact, there was an outdoor pool in the capital plan for Mount Pleasant, but because of emerging priorities, that was shifted. So the money was definitely there. So if there's a will and priority of giving us the pools for our kids, so low-income people can afford free time in pools, not just free lessons. And that's our commitment, that we need to put that Mount Pleasant pool back there where it belongs, and then more pools, because the money is definitely there.
The issue always comes up to money. Let me take you back to history of why we have community centers in the first place. The city didn't have the money to put them up. That all came from private people who got together and seen the need, and they said, we'll get you the money. That's still available. All you got to do is go back to that original model. Get away from staff handling things, get away from politicians handling things, and you'll get things done.
So we know Vision's not going to build any outdoor pools. We've got the NPA promising 3, and I don't know where they're going to get the money because there's not that much money in the capital plan, because you're looking at $15 to $20 million to build 3 new ones, which means they're going to have to not build something else. Green Party, along with COPE, are saying yes to Mount Pleasant in this capital plan and looking to another pool in the next capital plan.
Jamie Lee Hamilton from IDEA. Mount Pleasant Pool was promised to you, and it has to be delivered. That has to be a priority. And I haven't heard the MPA at all during this campaign saying that Mount Pleasant should be a priority. And I agree with Stuart. There's not the money you can make.
Give your answer, the person who was asked it.
Could you ask who didn't support that to raise their hand?
Okay, do you disagree with decreasing?
I think it was clear that we didn't support going.
Okay, I'm just going to put it simply back again. Put your hand up nice and clearly if you support decreasing the voter age. Raise your hand clearly. There you go. That's your answer from the person who's asked that. Okay, so some of you, if you're elected to the Parks Board, will not be a part of a majority party. What will you do to ensure the board makes good decisions and gets things accomplished? And we're going to start with Vision.
Well, thank you. I think that regardless of whether there's a majority or minority on the park board, it's important for all commissioners to work together. Every single one of my motions that I've been able to bring forward to the park board, with the exception of one, which was on public Wi-Fi, was passed unanimously. And that was because I was able to reach out to Commissioner Cooper, and he's reached out to me on a few times, and we've been able to pass each other's motions. So even though we live in a very partisan system, and you come and see the debates like this and we're going at each other, it's really important to have really good working relationships with your colleagues, no matter what party they're from. I think that that's based on good personal relationships, and that's the kind of relationships that I like to build with people.
Is the microphone to move? Go around the table for the answers. Cassandra, are you okay with the timer?
Anita Roman Code. Whether or not we have a majority, which is possible, there's 4 of us here or more. But if we do not, we will certainly work with other commissioners I think all the people who are sitting at this table have Parks and Recreation as a priority and as a passion. We may disagree on things, but I think we can work together just about any issue. We will find someone else on that board that we can talk to, and that we will bring a better Parks and Recreation system for the community and for Vancouver. Thank you.
The way we've been passing the mic back and forth. This is fantastic. I think all of us, it's true, we're really passionate about what we do, and Parks and Recreation is that passion. And as long as we're doing the work and we're not leaving it to staff to do, then I think it'd be fantastic.
The Green Platform is Green Parks Together. We want to work with not only the other councillors, and I think we can do a really good job because we are passionate about what we want. And I think when we talk to each other, the more we have similar goals. We want to make the community ideas and what the community wants happen. So if that's true, then we can do it together because that's our goal as a board. So elect a board that will do that.
The problem with our developer-funded parties is that they all vote in bloc, and that's not serving the public very well. And I think we need to get beyond that. As Trevor said, we need to collaborate. But I would go back to the kids' bike freeway. Aaron Jasper, the chair of the board, came out and said, it's a done deal before even consulting with the public. And so that's not very collaborative, in my opinion. And so we need to get rid of that. I think you got to get independent-minded people elected at Park Board who are not afraid of their higher-ups.
Thanks. I think that we, if there is no majority on the park board, of course we are all going to come to the table with some different ideas, but I think that we all need to work together respectfully. I think there's a lot of people sitting here at this table who are like-minded and want to have your interests at heart when we're making decisions. So I would urge you to make a responsible decision when voting on November 15th and put people on the park board that are really going to be here to listen and consult with you first. Thanks.
This issue is a bit dear to my heart, so I'm just going to kind of jump in here. I went to a park board meeting once, and there was a majority. It was a recent one, so there was a majority in power, and all the community members came up and they all spoke, and then the park board just voted. It's almost as if they didn't hear anybody. So when you have a majority in place, they can decide in another room, they're going to listen, but this is their decision. It's been made up, and I think we need to be careful whether it's one large party or the other large party, but that doesn't happen. And I think you can get a selection of a lot of good people at this table. There's really a lot of great ideas going around here. We just need to break it up a little bit, have some good debate, and I think the decisions will happen. Thank you.
John Cooper, I think one of the key things is not only the ability to work with other commissioners, but to work with other levels of government. And certainly the project that I was involved in, even in opposition, was to get a new group on the Board of Health and Service. I'm really proud of that. I was able to attain that. Melissa DiGenova, my counterpart, worked very hard to get funding from the federal and provincial government for the senior center, the South Van Senior Center. So that's an important piece as well. The other thing is, I think there's been a lot of damage done over the last 6 years, and I really think it would be helpful. I think we have a very good NPA team. I think if we are able to form a majority, I think we can undo a lot of the damage. We're already very committed to consultation, to making sure that you're heard, seen, and understood, and that's really core to our values. So it is a very important decision that you all have, and I hope you'll really strongly consider the NPA team.
Okay, this will be the last question of the evening, and after that everyone will have a chance for one last comment. Okay, so the last question. If elected, will you increase access to recreation and specifically to playing fields for women and girls, including dedicated spaces? So we last started, I believe, here, so we're going to start with Cope on this one.
I think as a party that is unapologetically feminist, I think the obvious answer is yes. In order to create spaces that are more accessible for the most marginalized populations and to create a city that is more inclusive, I think that increasing more spaces for women and girls in sports, a space that is often male-dominated, is unduly something that we must work towards. And if I was elected, I would definitely push for that.
Next goes to John.
Maybe regretting my last answer, but I won't talk about it. Vancouver First wants to take a look at the field user fees to make more fields accessible to all children, whether they be male or female, it's irrelevant. The field user fees came in and became a real hindrance to a lot of the minor league sports. And so looking at ways to open up fields and maybe partnering with the school boards to have more fields accessible for other people to participate in would be fantastic. It's something that the Vancouver First slate and platform really want to push forward on. Thank you.
Stuart McKinnon, Vancouver Green Party. That's absolutely correct. We need to do that. The Green Party is a social activist party. We believe that we need to have equal access and allow people to play where they want, when they want. One of the problems we have is insufficient facilities and insufficient amounts of time. And so we need to really look at when our fields are occupied, when they're not. Agreeing with my colleague that we have to include the Vancouver Park School Board in this in order for us to have more facilities.
Absolutely, yes. That's a given. Thank you.
I sit on the board of the Opposite Mother Center, and I agree that girls should get more space.
I'll make this short and sweet. We are committed to inclusiveness and access for all groups, and if there are inequities, whether it's ice hockey, playing time, whatever, for women, then certainly we seek to address that, and as a woman, absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna, sorry.
Hi, Corey Talbot, Vision Vancouver. Great question. Absolutely. We are committed to working with the Vancouver Sport Federation, working with the Field Sport, as well as Field Sport Federation to look at how can we improve our booking process. How can we make sure that it's more easy and accessible for people to not only access our space, but be able to organize sport and book it. And that means looking at who's using our spaces. Let's make sure that our young girls have the equal opportunity to book out spaces with their sports leagues the same way that our young boys do. It's something we're committed to. It's something that it's important to us. Equal access for everyone within our parks. Thank you.
I'm not used to dealing with so many candidates at these events. Usually it's a provincial or federal, and I've got 2 to 5 candidates at the most. So now, in order to get us all home in time to go to bed at a decent hour, we're going to go around the room. We're going to cover everybody one more time. You'll have 40 seconds. Cassandra will give you the yellow card at the 30-second mark, the red card at the 40-second mark. And you'll have your last chance to please announce your name, your party, and anything else you'd like to say, including any rebuttals from what was said earlier. We're going to start right around the table. Start with Jenny. And also, in the interest of time, please hold your applause until the very end. If we could just hold back an applause and just listen to everybody, that would be great.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for coming tonight and taking the time. I'm going to be Cass again, independent for Park Commissioner. My experience in the regulatory industry could help ensure responsible spending by the park board. I want you to know where your money is going. We need some transparency there. I have a passion for policy and procedure and a desire to operate your park board with integrity. I am new to this, so I don't want to make any big promises that I can't keep. I just want to provide honest representation of the community's wants and needs. Again, my message is simple. I'm here to listen to you. I want to improve our parks and facilities in a way that matters to you. It's really just me here for you because I care about Vancouver. Thank you.
Hello, the way I see it is we need change, we need vision out, we need new parties in, we need new blood. So vote for new blood, yo.
James Bucksham again, independent. Anyway, my big thing is the parks themselves mainly. There's Yale Town Park. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's all concrete or block. There's almost no grass in it. Like I said, there's a new park, the 6th and 3rd. There's almost no grass in that park. There's another one at 18th and Main, same thing. They're talking about, there's an idea being floated to pave over Vanier Park, so it's easy for Bard to rebuild. Now, I love Bard, but these kind of things it comes down to this. We need to really protect the parks from the park board. That's my platform. Thank you.
Hi there, JJ Paul, from Park Board with the NPA. Summing it up, I grew up in a community where the community wasn't the community center. And that's the underlying tone, that's why I got involved. I feel like the last 6 years, there's been a pull. The communities don't feel the same anymore. I feel like we've got to get the community associations more involved and actually expand the role of the community centers. My background, like I said, is I'm a mechanical engineer. I know facilities. I'm trained to be a problem solver. I'm trained to innovate. I've started companies. I understand green buildings. I've done large capital projects. That's what I bring to the table. So I bring a different background from most commissioners here. Number 15, over Jay Jackpot. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay Jackpot. My name is Erin Shum, and I'm running for Park Board with the NPA. I'm second-generation Canadian-born Chinese, and I work with special needs children. So I understand what a lot of the families need in their parks and in their recreational spaces, and I also am a small business owner. So that's where I get to see, hear, and understand what the community wants, and that's where I have that open dialogue with the community. And my platform is I want to ensure our parks are clean, they're well-maintained for children, and for the grandparents that take their children to the parks and have some fun there. I want to make sure they're clean. Second of all, let's build that seniors community center to Marnie. And third, let's restore the severed relationship with the Community Center Association. That is our number one priority, and let's get that happening. Let's collaborate, and let's have a dialogue.
Thank you, John Cooper, running for re-election, and I would hope that you'll all support Kirk Point on the NPA team. I have a passion for parks, a passion for horticulture. I think my record is pretty clear. I've been standing up for parks, and it's been a difficult 3 years because many times I have to listen to, and it's been very frustrating. I think we do need to get back to more consultation on this table. I'd like to leave you though with one last thing. I have the capital plan here. I would like Trevor to show me the imaginary $20 million for dog parks because it's not here. And I corrected him at Kids a few days ago, and he still repeats the $20 million. I'd like him to show me where is the $20 million.
Hi, Sarah Caribbean. Thanks again for coming this evening. I've spent my career in the tourism industry working collaboratively with committee groups, and I think I bring that partnership and collaboration to the park board role. So I'd also like to say that I would like to address the community center issue, which I think is the one that's prevalent on everybody's minds. And the question that was raised earlier is why Vision would think that those associations are happy sitting at the table. I read a letter earlier this week from Norm, Renfrew Park Community Association president, who withdrew from the negotiations on November 2nd because they were not taking place in good faith and not with respect to the Community Center Association. So I want to make sure that you all understand that The MPA team and I are fully committed to community center associations and will work hard for you to restore that. Thank you.
I first of all want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and participating in the debate. I think it's really important that we all come together. We are listening to you and you're able to hear our ideas. I'm really proud of Vision Vancouver because we have a fully costed platform. We're the only party to have a fully costed platform. Our commitments are clearly spelled out. 1,000 new childcare spaces for the city. Improving the one card so that more than 135,000 people can access our community centers. We want to continue to build on that. That's our plan moving forward. It's about affordability, it's about the greenest city, and it's about moving people through a new Broadway subway. That's the plan Barry Robertson gives you. That's the plan that I'll give you as your re-elected Park Board Commissioner. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you. Corey Tall with Vision Vancouver. I'm a community organizer. I've built a growing sports league based on working with community organizations, working with individuals. I'm committed to accessible and inclusive recreational places within our city. That's what Vision Vancouver is committed to. Those are our values. We're committed to increasing our park spaces, increasing our green spaces in the city. As Trevor said, we have a fully costed plan. You know what you're getting when you vote for Vision. So on November 15th, I hope we can count on your vote. You can continue to go forward with Vision. Thank you very much.
Hi. Hello. What we have in the community centers and in the park board is really unique. And it's unique because it's one of the only elected park boards in North America. And it's also unique because it's a model of direct democracy. We have community center associations working around the city that are connecting with people, or connecting with communities and making decisions that really matter to people. We can expand that. And that's why I think that the park board and the community center associations can lead the way in this conversation. We're going to be facing